afternoon, everyone. This is Team Green Bean reporting live from State College. Hope you're all having a great day so far. It is currently Friday, April 30th, and the weather is around 55 degrees and windy. Welcome to HR Live from Happy Valley, our podcast where we talk about current news and issues that happen on a day-to-day basis in human resources and also the hospitality industry. We will be analyzing this content from an in-depth perspective and communicating to our audience the importance of these matters. My name is Gabby Destefon, a current junior studying hospitality with a focus in hotels, and today I'm joined with Brynn, Gillian, Delaney, and Grace.
Hi everyone, my name is Delaney Brannon and I'm a junior in the hospitality program here at Penn State. I'm currently minoring in entrepreneurship and innovation as well. My hospitality and HR experience stems from restaurant work as both a server and a shift manager.
Hello everyone, my name is Brynn Bambu and I am currently also a junior studying hospitality management with a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation. I've had some experiences in the hospitality field by having the privilege to intern at a hotel and a country club. And I also have experience working closely with restaurants. It's very nice to be here today. And as we go on, I hope you enjoy this podcast.
Good afternoon. My name is Gillian Dunleavy. I'm a current junior studying hospitality management with a focus in events, minoring in business administration. My experience comes from working in food and beverage as a server, hostess, and a food runner, and also a reservations agent for a hotel.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Szumigala and I am a senior studying hospitality management. Having previous work experience in hotels, food and beverage, and meetings and events, we are so excited to share with you a bit more about human resources in our podcast today.
For this segment, we'll be reporting from 5 individual desks with our lovely students from Penn State University, talking about different interesting and important HR news. So this is Gabby again with something to look out for. Are you ready for the future of HR management? Today, we'll be looking into the top 10 HR trends for 2021 and beyond from digital HR tech. Some of these points are a direct impact of the pandemic, while others have been more long-term developments. Today, I'll talk a little bit about acing analytics, rethinking typical HR practices, and having HR in the driving seat. Acing analytics has become more important over the years as competition has been increasing. Finding and using data that really matters and has substance is what will truly separate your organization over the rest. The extra time and effort will really make a huge advantage. Next, due to the pandemic, we need to be creative and rethink the regular HR practices like recruiting and training. We may never go back to the original ways, and this is a great opportunity to adopt even better practices. The overall employee experience is going to be flipped on its head, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Lastly, HR needs to take the driver's seat. From worrying about health, homeschooling, and many other added stressors, employees may feel overwhelmed and need more support from all angles of their life. Organizations are turning to HR for help, and HR in turn needs to provide best guidance to keep the company on course for success. Overall, I think we as managers need to stay on our toes and not be afraid of this. Some of these new HR questions won't have answers yet, and that's okay. Well, thanks for listening. That was Gabby Destefon with something to look out for. Now, on to Brynn Bambu with something important.
Thank you, Gabby. Those were some very great points. I will now be speaking from the Here's Something Important desk with some interesting news. So with the pandemic putting many hospitality industries at a decline, have you ever wondered about how one of America's biggest tourist sites, Las Vegas, is doing during this time? As I am now an aspiring event planner who wants to move to the West Coast after graduation, it's unfortunate to say that tourism in Las Vegas has been taking a large hit. So based on the article, The Tricky Task of Selling Las Vegas to Tourists During COVID-19 by Matt Ives in the Wall Street Journal, we learned that visitors this year went from 28.4 million last year to now 12.7 million. The hotel room occupancy rates also declined from 89.4% to 42.8%. As of now, there are small gatherings and hybrid meetings that offer both in-person or online meetings. The downside to hybrid online meetings is that relationships are made in person, as it's hard to connect on an emotional level online. According to an interview with Miss Kate Wick, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Miss Wick and her team have been trying to find a good balance between safety and entertainment in these tough times, as their specialty includes working for conventions in Las Vegas. While hard workers like Kate Wick are trying their best to overcome the situation, at the end of the day, the hospitality industry is struggling. The pandemic has caused us all to stop traveling and stay indoors, the two main things that Las Vegas needs in order to survive. So with that said, what do you all think about this and how the future of hospitality industries will be affected for the years to come? Thank you to all, and again, this is Brynn Bambu reporting live from Here's Something Important. And now, here's Gillian Dunleavy with Here's Something Cool.
Thanks, Brynn. You had a lot of important points that definitely need to be talked about in the world of business. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gillian Dunleavy from the School of Hospitality Management, and today I will be speaking from the desk, Here's Something Cool. Could you imagine a time where you were able to be in public without the fear of people having COVID around you? This breakthrough mask is a smoke detector for COVID, written on January 21st by Mark Wilson, talks about a new attachment that can be put on disposable masks that would actually test the air around you for the coronavirus. It is important to know a COVID carrier can be contagious 2 days before showing any actual symptoms. And by the time you're actually able to get your test results back, they could have already infected multiple people. Postdoctoral researcher Jesse Jokers is now developing a small blister pack, like what pills come in, but is able to attach to any mask and gather tiny water droplets from the air you're breathing in and out. After wearing this mask all day, you squeeze the blister pack and it releases a solution that mixes in with those water droplets. These blister packs are only a few cents and they can be easily distributed to everyone. By the time this research is validated, Jokers predicted that America will already have the vaccine available to most people in the general public, which, as we all know, has happened already. The blister packs are made to be used when you're in a group of people in a confined space, such as a prison. These blister packs could be very useful in the hospitality industry. Forcing people to use these packs while in large meetings or events is a way to make sure the air you're breathing in does not contain the virus, especially if you happen to be around people who have not been vaccinated yet. I definitely think this would be a good thing to implement into public spaces, especially as a preventative measure, and hopefully to reduce COVID scares and COVID cases. Hopefully this new innovation could allow public spaces to slowly open back up. Would you advocate the use of blister packs or masks, even though the vaccines are becoming more widely accessible to everyone? Thank you for tuning in with me, Gillian Dunleavy from Here's Something Cool. Please turn your attention to Delaney Brannon with Here's Something Everyone Should Care About.
Thanks for the introduction, Gillian. I'd love to get a pack of those masks for myself. Again, this is Delaney, and I'll be bringing you news on something everyone should care about. In the current political and social climate, organizations are striving more than ever to implement tangible efforts towards workplace diversity and inclusion. The issue lies in the fact that many bosses and managers are falling short in these efforts. In H.V. MacArthur's article titled Workplace Diversity, What Companies Need to Get Right Now, she addresses ways to actually implement workplace diversity. The ideas she offers are both simple enough to put into practice, yet groundbreaking enough that they will actually make a difference. The first step is simply embracing the critical nature of diversity and inclusion. Following this, bosses need to be creating safe spaces for employees. At the end of the day, MacArthur explained that just being an authentic, transparent boss will assist the diversity efforts significantly. Another important step to take is taking action that is both tangible and trackable in order for businesses to articulate how far they have come. The goal of this piece is to provide genuine, attainable advice that bosses and managers can implement without feeling overwhelmed in a time where diversity is so imperative for the success of a business. I find that the hospitality industry is such a cultural melting pot that ensuring diversity and inclusion is vital, especially in the current political climate. Building on that idea, the hospitality industry spans worldwide. Diversity and inclusion, despite being so heavily emphasized in America currently, is an issue that needs to be addressed across the board. At the end of the day, diversity and inclusion has been put on the back burner for too long. Articles like this shed light on the issue directly. Finally, I really appreciate that this article offers tangible advice that managers in any type of business can implement to bolster their diversity efforts. Thank you for listening to Something I Think Everyone Should Care About. This has been Delaney Brannon, and I'll be passing the mic to Grace to speak on something you should think about.
Thanks, Delaney. You definitely spoke about some interesting and important topics. Hi, everyone. It is Grace Szumigala here, reporting from Here's Something to Think About. I found an article that discusses white privilege and how it can affect the workplace. 4 important topics you should keep in mind while I speak on this topic is what white privilege is, what makes a toxic workplace, biases, and how to continue to educate yourself. So back in early February, Fast Company released an article called "This is What White Privilege Looks Like in Your Workplace," written by Kathleen Davis. The idea of this article came from a podcast called The New Way We Work, which discusses the workplace environment, and the specific episode discuss what biases, white privilege, and tone policy look like at work. So companies are continuing to struggle to focus on people of color and others in underrepresented groups. People of color feel their workplace may be toxic by having their company policies be based on what white supremacy thinks is professional, whether it's how you dress, speak, and express emotions in the workplace. Mimi Fox Melton spoke about the topic on the New Way We Work podcast and stated that the workplace has unstated and unwritten rules that favor whiteness at work. Employers need to realize that white privilege is something that people of color have felt at a very young age, and until someone brings it up, it's someone who has white privilege, it goes unnoticed. With diversity and discrimination still continuing to be an extremely present topic in today's society, speaking more about white privilege and how it still plays a toxic role in the workplace is something we should all think about and learn how to change. It is important to do your part as an employer to listen to your employees who are of color and to take any claims that may relate to discrimination seriously. Discrimination and white privilege will always be an issue in the workplace, and we need to learn how to change it. Employers and employees need to continue to educate themselves on discriminatory issues, and we also need to think about why white privilege continues to be an issue in our workplace. We are looking at how to fix the issue. It could lead to revisiting company policies that do favor white professionalism biases, or employers may need to create new training methods to continue educating your employees about white privilege and how it is present in your workplace. This has been Grace Szumigala from the desk of Here's Something to Think About.
Hi, this is Gabby Destefon again, welcoming you back to our next segment of our podcast, Hot Topics. In this section, we'll hear Gillian, Grace, Delaney, and Brynn engage in a debate about hot topics in the HR and HM world. Today, we'll be focusing on our debate on tattoos in the workplace and whether they are appropriate or not. This is a highly taboo topic, especially right now, as one part of society is moving toward individuality while the other is stuck in conformity. It has always been up for debate, but as more people have visible tattoos, it is something to really deep dive into. So Delaney, how do you feel about this?
Hey guys, this is Delaney here with Brynn. Our first argument is that having tattoos is a choice.
Hi, Delaney. Yeah, so I agree with you 100% that they are a choice. And I also think it's very important to mention, along with your point, that with tattoos being a choice, possible employees need to be aware of how they may present themselves visibly in the workplace. So with that said, in some cases, visible tattoos in a professional setting are sometimes frowned upon as they can tend to create a certain negative stigma against that person.
Brynn actually has a tattoo. Would you like to go into the decision-making process when you were planning to get it?
Yeah, sure. So I actually do have a tattoo, and I have it placed on my side, which would not be visible at all in a professional setting. So it was my choice, and I was aware of possible consequences or stigma in a professional setting, which is why I chose to keep it in a place that isn't visible. And going along with what I said before on how tattoos can create a negative stigma, oftentimes visible tattoos during the hiring process is judged automatically because it's the hirer's first impression as they see that potential employee. And in fact, a 2014 study determined that hiring managers are still concerned about how visible tattoos will affect a client's opinion of an employee.
Yeah, and building off of that, just to name a few companies, Marriott, Hilton, Chick-fil-A, and even McDonald's have policies against visible tattoos with varying degrees of strictness. Disney was also very adamant about their no tattoo policy as well until this year. Aspiring professionals, especially in the hospitality world, should consider this when deciding to get a tattoo, what style of tattoo they want, and placement on the body, just like Brynn did. If your dream job is working at a corporate office for Marriott, tattoos are going to need to be heavily considered before getting one.
I think it's especially important to keep in mind that tattoos, if they are allowed in the workplace, can sometimes offend others. And this is especially true with the older generation, as they don't understand that the ideas of tattoos that can be used as an expression or pieces of art. And there are some instances when tattoos are exceedingly inappropriate or could be deeply offensive. And this includes like symbols of hate, prejudice, and sexism. And one can argue that these symbols or tattoos represent something they feel strongly about or their core values. However, if it's visible to others, there could be possible issues in the workplace with coworkers as well as customers.
Yeah, definitely. And another point to make here is that cultural fit is crucial for successful hires. As defined in an article in the Harvard Business Review, cultural fit is the likelihood that someone will reflect and or be able to adapt to the core beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that make up an organization. According to the Society of Human Resource Management, the result of poor culture fit due to turnover can cost an organization between 50 to 60% of a person's annual salary. Our final argument is people with tattoos are not a protected class. Government acts that protect people from discrimination at work include Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967, and the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. None of these include people with tattoos, making discrimination an invalid argument in this instance.
Great points, guys. I can definitely see how tattoos can negatively affect the workplace. Gillian, what's your counter to this side of things?
Hi everyone, this is Gillian alongside Grace, debating as why tattoos should be accepted in the workplace. Our first point is that tattoos are becoming more normalized as we progress as a society. Even Marines now allow tattoos anywhere except on the face. Many hospitality businesses such as Mod Pizza actually look for people with tattoos because they want to give everyone a fair chance at a job.
Grace here. And Gillian, you make a great point. If your company isn't giving everyone a fair chance, you can lose useful applicants from unfair biases against them having tattoos.
To support Grace's argument, allowing tattoos in the workplace and places of employment will actually see higher performance and productivity rather than places that don't allow them. If your employees feel that they are cared for and accepted in your work environment, they're going to be willing to work harder and have higher performance because they know that their company respects and accepts them, tattoos and all.
Exactly. And when it comes down to it, people that know their worth and have the experience and references can bring their skills to a different company that sees them for their hard work and not what they decide to put on their bodies as a form of expression.
Our next point for our argument is that as Gen Z is graduating college, entering the workforce, baby boomers and Gen X need to open their minds and change their perspective when it comes to body image.
Yeah, so Gillian and I found that 1 in 3 people among the younger generation have tattoos, and hiring managers that can only consider people without tattoo applicants is decreasing by 30%.
And going off of that point, Grace, those two older generations are most likely to be in charge of the businesses that millennials look to for employment, which can be a bit daunting because older generations compared to youngers have very different viewpoints, especially on what is deemed professional and what is not. Actually, 40% of workers younger than 30 have tattoos, which are millennials and Gen Z, whereas 32% of older members of Gen X have tattoos, and that number drops even more with baby boomers. I think this is a pretty unfair bias that most employers have set up for themselves because they're in an older generational group than everyone else. I think this is definitely unfair, and it's also affecting workplace diversity.
Gillian, I definitely agree with you. Having these generations with tattoos entering the workforce and not allowing tattoos in your workplace is going to impact a lot of applicants you may have for your company. You can go from having 100 applicants, but if your company does not allow tattoos, this number could be cut in half. This is definitely an unfair bias that most employers have set for themselves because they are in our older generational group. Figures from as far as 2006 show that 38% of US Hispanics and 28% of African Americans have tattoos, which leads to a decrease in workplace diversity, which is another issue employers are struggling with. Another statistic shows that only 23% of employers would employ someone regardless of their tattoos. And again, this number is extremely low and affects hardworking people who may have tattoos for sentimental values or may have one for cultural purposes. But the statistic also shows that we are in the beginning stages of creating a more fair bias when it comes to applicants with tattoos. In more recent news, Forbes did just release an article stating that the Walt Disney Company updated what is known as their Disney look. And with this new update, it has changed their policies to now allowing gender-inclusive hairstyles, and they have now allowed appropriated tattoos, which in the past they did not allow tattoos at all, or they needed to be covered. So on April 13th, this information was released by the Disney Parks and Experience Products Chairman Josh D'Amaro, and he stated that cast members will now be allowed to have tattoos below the neck that are limited in size, and this is going to be both at Walt Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California. And with this new initiative for Disney is finally starting to move into a more diverse and inclusive company. Gillian, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I was super excited when I heard about this news from you. I think this is a really big stepping stone in the world of hospitality because Disney has always been known to have pretty strict rules against the way they want their employees to look. This could open many doors for people who were fearful of putting themselves out there when job searching. I'm hopeful that this change will encourage other companies to adopt these new policies as well.
Yeah, great point, guys. So to continue this discussion, I found a study done by Workopolis, which found that 41% of people who said that those with tattoos lack seriousness, which in the hospitality industry or high-level jobs can be an extremely important aspect of business. What do you think about this, Gillian?
63% of millennials went to college compared to only 58% of baby boomers. The younger generations have a higher education and greater skill set and work experience than the people who are actually hiring them. Brynn, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so just to go off of that, I think despite the level of education, I did hear of a study released in July by professors at Colorado State and California State universities, found that there are hiring and wage biases against people with almost any type of tattoo or even body piercing. And although tattoos are more mainstream, traditionally tattoos were associated with marginalized groups such as gang members, prisoners, and bikers.
Brynn, I definitely see your points, but having that mindset that marginalized groups and gangs are associated with people who have tattoos is an unfair bias that most employers have. Going back to the statistics that I shared earlier about diversity being affected in our workplace with people of color being more known for having tattoos is definitely unfair when seriousness in the workplace has had the same definition for years and no one has taken the time to actually update this.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, but I think if the question at hand is, do tattoos have a negative impact on hiring, that definitely still reigns true. At the end of the day, the bias is still there. Like I said earlier, even mainstream companies that do not require super high levels of skill, like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, have policies against visible tattoos. This means that the feeling must be pretty high among all employers, especially in the field of hospitality. With that being said, even if a bias is present, companies are still allowed to set their own standards for their company image. When asking the question, are tattoos workplace appropriate, I can confidently say I think the answer, even if it has the potential to change in the future, is still currently a no.
Being that I have 8 tattoos and plan on getting many more, I have very strong opinions as to why tattoos should in no way hinder or affect your chances to be hired or seen as professional. I don't think it's right to have any biases against people's outward appearances, the same way that it's not morally right to hire or already have negative opinions about someone due to their weight or beauty standards. I think it's important to keep in mind people that want to be seen as professional and don't want their appearance to get in the way of job experience usually place tattoos in spots that aren't immediately visible and also cover up during interviews so it doesn't get in the way of employers having anything negative to say regardless of experience.
Can't talk. Well, that was some really great discussion from both sides. And seeing that as many as 145 million people in the US have tattoos, it's a debate that needs to continue on. There certainly will be no definite answer anytime soon, especially with so many perspectives to balance and think about. This was Hot Topics with Team Green Bean signing off.
Welcome to HR from Happy Valley. My name is Gillian from Team Green Bean, and today with me we have Gabby Grace, Brynn, and Delaney. For today's segment, we will be interviewing Chantel Liberato, who is a hospitality professional currently working for Herman Miller in Washington, D.C. Having graduated from Penn State in 2013, she has had plenty of work experience and will be answering our questions about the workplace and what is currently happening around hospitality management jobs.
I guess we'll just kind of get started with our questions for you.
So my first question is, during these difficult times, what do you think is the best way to make work fun for employees, being that a lot of things are online now and virtual?
Definitely a sense of community. We all want to belong some way, somehow, and not having that sense of community or culture in a physical setting is really hard to replicate. So there's different things that you can do. Something that we're doing with Herman Miller, a lot of large corporations have similar things like you would have at Penn State, where you would have different clubs or organizations that you can join. So they definitely try to create some sort of sense of community by enticing employees to get involved in different things. It's really about creating a sense of unity. And like I said, really hard to do in a virtual setting.
All right. Brynn, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, so my question just regards, like men and women in the workforce today, how it's a little unfair. I mean, still in general, men make more than women, or they get offered higher positions sometimes over women, and they're considered a minority technically. So what do you think is necessary to maybe overcome this or change this or to make it better?
Our hiring practices have to change. A very quick and easy fix is blind screening. There's no need for you to have to I know there was a time where you put your picture on your resume. I don't understand. There's definitely systems out there that can filter resumes, just blind screening. There's no need to attach a name to that candidate. Also, understanding the ceiling. Not all corporations understand that really is an issue, or they just check boxes, right? That's not enough. It just really has to be, one, there's a lot of government reform that has to occur. So like I said, that's a loaded question. That has to occur in order to make it equitable for women. Training is great, but how is it measurable? You have to hit it where it hurts, right? You have to hit us in our pockets. So we work to get a paycheck. Most people work to get a paycheck. And if my paycheck is being compromised because I'm not complying with my training, then that's what I'm actually going to put into place.
And then I think Delaney is going to take it away with the next one then.
So beyond monetary compensation, what do you think really actually motivates employees to perform well and stay in their jobs?
There's a lot of different things that motivate different people. If you don't hire the right person, or if you're not fulfilling their purpose or their why, they're not going to stay in any role. If you're just if you just become unhappy in your role, you're not going to stay in it. You have to find their why. So what motivates me is fulfilling my purpose, and my purpose is impacting people. So I enjoy having a team. I enjoy managing others. I enjoy impacting my community and allowing others to grow. If my work team leader, if my manager did not fulfill that or allow me to do that in my 9 to 5, then I'm just not going to be fulfilled. And yes, I'm going to knock on someone else's door. But beyond monetary, what do I think really motivates employees to perform and stay is finding their purpose. So again, I mentioned Herman Miller has equity teams and different subgroups or committees that you can join to do things together, to have that sense of community. It's not always about work. It's about bringing in your own personality, the things that are important to you into your work-life balance. Because it's so much harder to leave something if you really care about it. Or one bad day or one bad week is not going to make you quit that relationship. If you're invested in it, not only because you're getting paid, but for other reasons, it's so much harder for you to leave.
But I think tying into Jillian's question about making work fun is the same thing you said, feeling like you actually have a community at work, makes people want to stay. Everything you said was really interesting. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you. No problem.
I think Gabby is asking the next question.
What do you think are some the biggest hiring mistakes that you've seen, and how can companies kind of do a better job of hiring employees who really fit?
Biggest hiring mistake is tagging a number or bias requirements. So I see a lot of job postings and they're like, you require 10 years minimum experience in project management. Why? I don't need 10 years to learn that role or to do that job well. I think that's just a very dated and or traditional way of hiring, right? So those requirements is the biggest mistake I think that we're doing currently. And I don't think that's going to happen overnight. I don't think we'll shift that overnight. To make sure that I'm the right fit, if we remove some of those barriers, I'm pretty sure we'll find talent that is willing, that aligns more with the company, not necessarily how well they look on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like these things just seem like so frustrating to me. In my position, I don't have any experience in hotels, but I want experience in hotels. I was supposed to be working in a hotel last summer, but, unfortunately that couldn't happen. So when they say, oh, you need experience working in hotels, I'm like, well, I'm 22 years old and I'm still in college, so it's a little difficult to have that experience. Just because someone might have 10 years working as a project manager, I might have more passion than they do that can really bring energy to this organization and really fit well.
That's very true.
That was like an awesome answer. And I'm kind of glad that we kind of did start talking about that, because my next question kind of, talks about advice that you would have for college students entering in our workforce and just kind of skill sets that we should be developing, especially I'm graduating this semester, and, not just the pandemic kind of shifted my skills of, okay, I was so used to having a bunch of jobs in person. And now I'm currently and have been all semester kind of pivoting my skills that I've learned to virtual internships, or I've done plenty of virtual events. So just kind of like what your advice would be for not just me as a senior, but everybody else, doing internships, and just kind of like specific skills you think students should have while they're entering the workforce.
Technology, for sure. Such a cliche answer. I'm sorry, but it's one of the things that I was looking into, and I'm not that far removed from graduating. The technology changes all the time. It's a part of the industry that's not going away, right? But now I'm not saying audio-visual technology. I'm saying like the stuff behind it. So like if you can get certified in coding, like just understanding that knowledge I don't have, right? They're teaching that in grade school now, right? On how to code. So like STEM and all this stuff, right? They're teaching that in grade school and middle school that, I started typing when I was in high school. So I would say just keeping up with technology, because that's not going anywhere. Skills, soft skills, all the technical, some of the stuff that you're learning in school, 100% you're going to use it. Not going to lie. After the first year or two, maybe 3 years out of college, you're not going to use them as rigorously. You're going to use the skills that you're learning at work, right? And if you go into a certain department, you're going to, if you're in food and beverage, you're going to talk about profit and RevPAR. If you're in a front desk, and food cost percentage, et cetera, right? If you go into that aspect of the industry. So yes, those are your technical skills, but all your soft skills, unfortunately, they don't teach you this in school. All those soft skills, those are the ones that you're just going to want to polish, right? So presentation skills, communication, team building. How well do you work with a team? Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? That's what makes good leaders.
I love that you were talking a lot about soft skills and just technology. Again, that will never go anywhere. And I think we've all kind of learned that the hard way. Yeah, absolutely. So we do have Gabby kind of giving our final fun question for you.
But what was your favorite Penn State memory or memories overall?
Favorite experience was definitely the global management program. I don't know if they still offer that program. Maybe they didn't offer it last year because of COVID, but studying abroad was amazing. And bringing my cohort back to State College was even more exciting. That's my best experience at our school. Best experience overall, I don't know if they do this, but when you're a freshman, you were like invited to like a pep rally, and all like everyone's there, right? And they are like throwing t-shirts. And if you got the black t-shirt with the red ink, with the pink ink, you got free textbooks for your 4 years. I don't know if you guys know that. And I caught one. That's my best experience at State College.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chantel, for taking the time to speak with us. Honestly, like I've learned so much from you like this past hour that I think I've learned pretty much all semester, which is crazy to think, but I just loved hearing kind of like your opinions and your insight on just kind of like what's happening in the real world. And I know all of us will definitely take everything that you said into our future careers and into school and just life in general. So thank you again so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear everything you had to say.
No problem.
This is Grace here, thanking you for listening to our podcast today. We hope you enjoyed our 3 segments and all the important information we were able to provide. This is Team Green Bean, Grace, Gabby, Gillian, Delaney, and Brynn signing off from HR in Happy Valley. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.